Well, hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. My name is Richard Lewington, and it is a real pleasure to be here at the WorldForumDigital. Attendees, speakers, and organizers, thank you for staying up late or waking up early in the morning. My name is Richard Lewington, and I am the Regional Manager for Blockchain International Training. I'm the head of digital at the British Conservative Party's Abroad unit, and I'm a certified Microsoft Innovative Educator. I also work for the University of Cambridge, and I'm a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, which was granted to me for my contributions to education over the last few years. Now, I'm sure a lot of you will find this very familiar. Remember, going to work, and now because of COVID-19, we have been transformed to this. Now, this in untangibility reminds me of something like a hologram. Now, the definition of the word hologram, which is physical, has changed. When most people think of the word hologram, the first thing that pops into people's minds is something like this. Something which is used to verify security documents, passports, IDs, etc. But the definition of the word hologram, like I said, has changed, and fiction likes to tell us otherwise. From Iron Man to Star Trek to the Minority Report to Princess Leia's plea to her only hope in Star Wars, holograms, or rather holographic projections, have played an important role in each of these and in many other movies. Imagine if you could interact with holograms on this scale, to be able to manipulate data, archives, and computer screens with the flick of a hand, or be suddenly transported into new holographic worlds, or hold a 3D video call with a life-size image of the person you're talking to in real time. Well, now you can. Because when I think of the word hologram, this is what I think of: augmented reality, holographic projection over your real-world environment. These pictures show augmented reality on the headset-mounted display called the HoloLens. Now, many of you will have seen the HoloLens. It is essentially a holographic computer built into a headset that lets you see, hear, and interact with holograms within your own environment, such as a living room or an office space. It runs exclusively on Windows and is completely untethered, so no wires, phones, or connection to a PC are required. Over the last few years, AR technology has been used to create a number of solutions for a variety of industries, such as this holographic video call-in solution, which allows a person to connect with a colleague, or in this case, a family member on the other side of the world. Augmenting printing. Now, as the technology continues to evolve and trends fluctuate, the printing industry is also finding new ways to connect with users by bridging traditional print with digital technologies. And we see an example of this in the new £20 note in the United Kingdom, where you can hold a phone over your banknote and see a famous Turner painting turn to life. In healthcare, we now have the ability to view CAT scan images as 3D holograms and in real time, so that a clinician can make more accurate diagnoses quicker. This is how most doctors currently work with 3D CAT scan images, in hazy black and white and in 2 dimension. Friends, this technology is now here. This isn't the future, it is the now, and it is changing our lives and transforming the way that we work in ways that we never only imagined possible in science fiction. And this need is even greater now because of what we're facing post-COVID-19. In education, we're starting to see AR slowly being introduced into the classrooms. When Microsoft's HoloLens was first introduced in 2016, it came packaged with an app called HoloAnatomy. Developed by Case Western Reserve University and Cleveland Clinic, HoloAnatomy allows the user being medical students, to view the different systems of the human body overlaid on top of each other. Now that looks great, but how much learning value can AR actually offer students beyond this wow factor? I could have learned exactly the same things in more or less the same way through one of the many anatomy and physiology books, YouTube videos, and online MOOCs, all without having to spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars for an AR device. So as an educator myself, this is what troubles me about the technology and how it's being used in education. And we need to exploit the difference. Over the last 100 years, we have seen massive changes in our classrooms. From the introduction of cine projectors, televisions, video players, computers, tablets, interactive whiteboards. But how many of these tools really aid learning? How many just sit around in the corner gathering dust and are not fulfilling their true potential? Now, I remember when I was in primary school, we had a single BBC Micro computer dedicated to the whole school that even the teachers didn't know how to use, yet alone how it would aid students. Now, in recent years, interactive whiteboards have become the fashion, with nearly every school installing them in the classrooms, but they're just used now as glorified and ultimately expensive projectors, while again, not fulfilling their true teaching potential. From Pokemon Go to Snapchat, Magic Leap to Apple's AR kit, it seems that every company is now jumping on the AR bandwagon, especially on mobile devices. And although, yes, they do look cool, we are still not taking advantage of the full potential of this technology. Stephen Anderson is a learning evangelist, and he writes a lot about educational technology on his website, Web 2.0 Classroom. And he says that we need to be skeptical when looking at new technology. Is it truly good for kids? Does it allow them to do something that they couldn't do before? Or are we just rehashing old teaching methodologies and redressing them up with the latest technology? Or should we really be exploiting AR's potential as a tool rather than just another medium? Recently, the EdTech website Innovate My School asked educators around the world a single question. What can we learn from the past decade, so the last 10 years of EdTech? And Professor Steve Molyneux, the CEO of the Tablet Academy, answered this. Ever since the development of IT educational technologies back in the 70s, we've been promised a dream of technology that will transform teaching and learning, and yet almost 50 years later, we're still using the same methods. In essence, we are the only sector of society that has not undergone a 21st century transformation. Now, if you reflect on the way you shop, communicate with friends and family, bank, interact with government, and you do the same with the way that pupils are taught, then you will see what I mean. Now, Samir is a model designed to help companies infuse technology into their daily work. Popularized by Dr. Ruben Pentadura, the model supports and enables users to design, develop, and infuse digital learning experiences that utilize technology. And the goal is to transform working experiences so they can result in higher levels of achievement for workers. Now, if you look at the S, this is where we currently are with AR. The technology is just a substitute. It just enhances the experience of learning. But how can we bring it up the scale and take it to R? And what can we do about this? Einstein said that education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. And this is what we want to do with our students, not just turn them into bored robots. Now, if you think back to when you were at school and think about who your favorite teacher was, and ask yourself why, these are the kind of answers that people have given me. That the classes were not boring, that they were a little crazy, that they were interesting, that they actually cared, that they were attractive, that they made me think rather than just teach by telling. So in summary, we remember and learn better when we enjoy the learning experience. So what's happening here? To explain, I need to talk a little bit about 3 teaching methodologies. In 1990, Miller and Seller came up with 3 approaches to learning, which are transmission, transaction, and transformation, which are an implicit and explicit intentional set of interactions designed to facilitate learning and development to impose meaning on experience. Now, to rush through this quickly, because I'm short on time, we talk about transmission. This is where the teacher is just telling the students what to do. The transaction model was established where the teacher's a coach. They help the students guide and with some transferable skills. But basically, as you can see, the arrow still points from the teacher to the students. Now, transformation is what we need to be doing with students, allowing them to explore. The teacher works as a support, as a guide, not necessarily as a teacher. They help students investigate and learn by themselves, with a teacher acting as a facilitator or a guide. Now, I can run through this. We can see a quick overview of how these 3 T's work together. We know that our ability to remember things depends on how we're exposed to them. If we read something, we'll probably remember it, but we're less likely to. If we see something, such as a course or a presentation, and this includes augmented reality, then again, the chances of us remembering that information are also limited. But the more we use and develop our senses, the more likely we are to remember something. And what ultimately helps us to remember better is by doing exposure. Think of how children learn basic anatomy at a very young age: head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Or language. We have an expression in the language teaching world: if you don't use it, you lose it. People who are constantly exposed to a new language by living in the country where that language is spoken are going to have a higher learning curve because of all their senses, and because all of their senses are exposed to it, rather than a person who doesn't. And we can talk about gamification and game-based learning, which can also be incorporated. We can talk about how all of these things can be added to add to that experience, to the AR experience. Not just looking at something and saying, this is the heart, this is the liver, this is the skeleton, but something much more tangible. And this is what I was trying to say from the beginning, that this intangibility of using something like Zoom or just using augmented reality with a person just talking to you is not good enough, and it does not really help the student think and learn what is trying to be taught to them. 21st century skills, again, are very, very important. This is what educators are calling critical thinking, collaboration, communication, creativity. Each of these umbrella a whole range of important skills that we need if we want to compete in the world nowadays. We need to think about incorporating these important soft skills into educational AR solutions. How can we do this? Include cognitive services. Now, to conclude, I want to basically talk very quickly about a game called Fragments, which is an AR first-person crime thriller. And it basically uses an AI which helps you. You are the center of the game, and you talk and collaborate with the other characters in the game. And this is the kind of thing which we should be incorporating into AR solutions. So that's the dream: a fully immersive, interactive AI model. Just to conclude, I just want to leave you with these thoughts and a final saying from this guy, American philosopher and educational reformer, John Dewey, who said that if we teach today as we taught yesterday, we rob our children of tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Oh, Richard, that was awesome.
Thank you very much.
I picked up quite a lot from that, and I'm going to be making references to your work. Really, really good, very informative, very insightful. I mean, what we can learn from that is this shift of paradigm from the way we learn and the way we inculcate education into a younger generation.
Absolutely. It's the methodology that needs to be thought about very strongly in the way that these applications are designed and how they're built so that they actually last the test of time.
Very good. Excellent stuff. So why do you think there is this lagging behind in terms of implementation of AR into the classrooms? We have spoken about it quite a lot over the last 20 years or so.
Yeah.
But implementation is very slow. Why is that?
Well, I think cost is one. I think people think that that AR, for example, is a fad, which is something like the interactive whiteboard, which could be brought in. You're going to spend a lot of money. Nobody's really going to be taught how to use it properly. And this is the other thing, where you need to change the mindset of the teachers that actually, you know, we're now living in the 21st century where learning to code, learning to use technology like AR, etc., AI, whatever, is as important as learning a foreign language.
Yeah.
Say for English if you live abroad. And the teachers, they come from an older generation. They're not used to this technology, but they really need to incorporate and especially, you know, think about what we're doing now. We're chatting over Skype or talking over Zoom. You know, imagine if we were doing this over a headset where all of you you viewers who are watching today, we're wearing a headset and we're having a virtual conference where we're able to see each other like you'd imagine in a science fiction movie. But this is totally possible now. The future is now. It's not.
It's not future. The future is now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even yesterday.
Yeah,
that was very, very informative indeed. Thank you very, very much.